Part 2. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop upon the top of Peter, but Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind. And there he is. He got away, and now he's a naked bunny. And rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in it. Oh no, what's going to happen? It's all full of water because it's a watering can. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. And there's Mr. McGregor turning over all the flower pots. Presently, Peter sneezed. Mr. McGregor was after him in no time and tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter, so he went back to his work. And there's Peter getting away just underneath Mr. McGregor's boot and knocking over the plants. Peter sat down to rest. Whew. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp with sitting in that can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. There's poor Peter. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him, and Peter began to cry. There's Peter with the mouse. He's very sad. I don't know what she's doing. She's just like, oh. Oh, she wants to go. You want to go? Yeah. Want to get down? Okay. Go ahead. Well, the story doesn't stop. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently, he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Have you ever seen a cat do that? Just look at something, really concentrated, just like this cat is doing. And his little tail swishes back and forth. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Peter scuttered underneath the bushes, but presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. And that's what he saw. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. So there's the picture. There's Peter in the wheelbarrow, and there's Mr. McGregor, and there's the gate. So Peter has to get past Mr. McGregor to get out the gate and go home and be safe. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could along a straight walk behind some black currant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the woods outside the garden. And there he is. That's the last little stretch. Whew. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. So that's what happened to Peter's jacket. Mr. McGregor used it for a scarecrow. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him until he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. I think a fortnight is 2 weeks. And I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. Peter didn't get any. And unfortunately, that last picture of the book is ripped out. See? You don't have the last picture. And that's the end of the story. Peter made it home safe, but boy, he was really tired and tired from being frightened. So stay out of Mr. McGregor's garden. You hear me? All right. I will send you another bedtime video. Maybe later today or tomorrow. Bye, sweetie. Sleep well. I love you.